It's finally happening, everybody. After 293 chapters of Tokyo Ghoul, humans and ghouls are about to be working together. How is it going, everybody? I hope you all are doing well, but this is going to be my review on Tokyo Ghoul chapter 150 entitled Arc, and once again, I just want to repeat that. 293 chapters we've basically waited for this moment. 143 from part 1 and 150 from Tokyo Ghoul. We have finally reached that moment that Ishida has hinted at the very beginning of the series is finally coming to fruition. And this honestly feels like endgame material, as if we're approaching the final arc of Tokyo Ghoul. But chapter 150 is going to be a very significant chapter moving forward and once we reach the ending of the series, because this chapter is the starting point of when humans and ghouls will start to work together. The question is still up in the air on whether or not this peace, this truce will last, and if there's going to be any, antagonist moving in, because you also got to remember this. We haven't seen Mitsuki and Aura in a few chapters right now, and I can definitely see them being the antagonist, the obstacle that this newfound cooperation is going to have to hurdle over. But just talking about chapter 150 itself, I think that this whole chapter was done very, very well. I love the beginning section with Kimi, explaining how dragon works with the origami, but then once we moved into the second section with basically the standoff between the CCG investigators and the Goat organization, there are some panels in that section I absolutely love, but there is one in particular that symbolizes something so big just for the series itself. I will point it out once I get to it, but I love that panel, that page, so much. But there are characters that stand out so well within this chapter. For number one, Hide. Hide has stood out ever since he took off the Scarecrow mask, but he's been standing out ever since he's been back into the story, and he just did something so well, just the way he's standing in this chapter. Hide gets major props, but Saiko gets major props in this chapter, and so does Amon. Toka too, but I just love this chapter so much, and I'm just excited to just finally dive into detail and in-depth into this chapter, because there are some significant things to talk about. So let's just rewind all the way back to the beginning parts of this chapter, where we basically start off with all of Kano's assistants and Kimi going through their research, going through their notebooks, and trying to figure out a way to basically stop Dragon. And what I love about this section of the chapter is just how well Kimi is able to explain the overall situation and the inner workings of Dragon to Marude. And the way that she's able to explain this is with a piece of origami, because right now everyone is on the clock because Dragon has the potential to expand and engulf all 23 wards of Tokyo. And I really do like how she explains it with the swan origami, because when you look at the origami, the surface area isn't really that big, but once you start to unfold it, it grows in size, about 2.5 times its original size. And Dragon works very similar to this piece of origami, except the way that it grows is with Kakaho. So looking at Kaneki, he's had at least 1 to 2 Kakahos within his system. You gotta factor in because he was also a Kakuja. But then he consumed at least 100 Ogai members in his ravenous rampage within the underground. So Dragon currently has over 100 Kakaho that have the potential to expand and grow. And looking at that, that is a disaster waiting to happen. Not only do I think that he has the potential to actually grow and expand to all 23 wards of Tokyo, he has the potential to most likely consume the whole island of Japan. So that right there really goes to show the grim situation that all 23 wards of Tokyo are put in right now. But Kimi, being the smart and intellectual one, actually has 2 plans that they can put into motion to take down Dragon. So the first plan that Kimi ends up giving to Marude is just to have them wait out Dragon, to have it die of natural causes, just to have the cells within the Kaganes deteriorate and slowly die. But that's going to be a little bit of a problem, because judging by Kimi's estimations, that would take about 200 years. But what I really do like about this section is that it calls back to when Kaneki was talking to Nishiki about his rapid aging, because we have the mention of the telomere cells being brought up yet again in this chapter, and the connection with Nishiki and Kimi makes a lot of sense, besides the fact that they were dating, because at Kame University, they both studied in the medical department, so they would know about cells, the rapid aging and decaying of cells. So I just like the connection right there being put in with Kimi and Nishiki in this chapter. But the second plan that Kimi ends up proposing to Marude is that they find the original source of Dragon. Find Ken Kaneki's body and disconnect it from Dragon. Except that's a lot easier said than done because the Dragon Kagane is just so big and Kaneki is very, very small. It's like finding a needle in a haystack. This would take them years, most likely, just with the CCG alone to find the original source of Dragon. So that right there, the two plans, it's gonna take some time in order for them to actually get rid of Dragon and actually rid it from the streets of Tokyo. So right before Marude can decide on what they want to do, we end up having a CCG investigator enter the room and basically tell him, it's like, Marude, you need to come downstairs right now because there are ghouls in front of the CCG. So once Marude makes his way down to ground level and through the crowd of CCG investigators, we get the reveal of Hide, who brought the entire GOAT organization to the CCG's front door. And I love these shots and panels that Ishida drew for this chapter. The shot with Hide with his arms crossed, just oozing confidence as he's standing in between Amon and Akira, and even the bottom panel of seeing all of our favorite Ghoul characters with their iconic masks. The Black Rabbit, White Rabbit, the Gourmet, Misa of the Triple Blades, Serpent, Banjo, who I presume that is Banjo right behind Tsukiyama, and just seeing all the shocked faces of the CCG, and most of them are shocked for another reason entirely. They are seeing Amon, who they thought was dead, standing amongst this group. And as to be expected, Marude is completely shocked by this overall situation and ends up screaming at Hide, "What the hell are you doing?" We even have a nice shot of Mugen in the background asking someone to bring over Higher Mind. Very nice cameo from Mugen right there, but Hide just basically explains the whole situation that Kimi just got done explaining to Marude, and Marude's shocked that Hide already knows all this information. And Hide explains to him, it's like, guys, we have to dig Kaneki out of the Dragon Kagane. We need to get all the help we can get, so let's work with the ghouls, let's work together, and let's just save our city from Kaneki right now. But Marude ain't having it. He's like, you expect me to work with ghouls? And Hide's like, yeah. The vessel we're looking for is Ken Kaneki, and then you have like a hush over the crowd. We have this shot of Saiko and Ure where Saiko's like, Maman, which I love Saiko in this chapter, which I'll talk about in a little bit about how awesome Saiko is. But all of the CCG investigators are like, wait a minute, Kaneki was executed. What on earth are you talking about right now? And then we have another twist, another wrench thrown into the mix with the appearance of Ui, Hirako, and Kid Arima. But this is what I'll say about Ui in this chapter. He honestly has no room to talk, considering that he is one of the main reasons why Furuta was able to complete his goal, getting Kaneki to transform into Dragon. And just to have him show up and basically let everyone know Furuta stepped down from being bureau chief, and then to have this smug look about him, basically saying like, oh, I see Amon is alive and back from the dead. Man, I wish Arima and Hairu were back from the dead. You are telling me, Nagachika, that we are supposed to work with these ghouls? We are not doing that. And he's looking at all the ghouls around him who are wearing their masks and basically saying like, you guys should leave before you all get killed. Or did you want to get killed right here? But then this is when the badassery of Amon kicks in. I absolutely love this section of the chapter, and I am going to read this verbatim in this chapter because I do not want to mess this up. Amon looks at Ui and says, do you know what the most important thing to an investigator is? And Ui replies, exterminating ghouls. He's like, wrong. The Ghoul Countermeasure Law Preface. The thing of most important value is peace. And the countermeasure members will put full effort into maintaining that. One who fights in order to protect the peace, that's an investigator. We have to fight even with ghouls. Amon MVP this chapter. That right there was ultimate savagery. He basically told Ui right then and there, sit down, you don't know what you're talking about. I'm going to fight for the people of Tokyo, which includes humans and ghouls. Amon MVP this chapter. And then, following that epic speech, we have the best girl, Saiko, raising her hand and basically telling everybody, I am willing to fight with the ghouls. I will join alongside the ghouls. Hige and Xiao end up following suit, and even Urei as well, but I do have to bring this up because there's one piece of dialogue within this translation that made no sense to me. If you guys know what he meant by this, please leave it down in the comments, but his dialogue read, "I heard that you were the kind to even use old women," when he's talking to Marade. I have no idea what that line even means, but either way, I'm glad to see the QS squad joining with the ghouls. That right there was just so nice to see, but it didn't end there, because even within the chaos of all the CCG investigators basically saying like, the pride of the CCG will never allow us to align ourselves with ghouls, this is where we get to probably the most important panel and page within Tokyo Ghoul I have seen thus far. This page, where everyone from the GOAT organization rips off their mask and throws it into the air, symbolizes so much. The mask is meant to hide the identity of every ghoul, that way no CCG investigators can actually find them. All of their unique features, everything from their eyes, nose, mouth, moles, everything that distinguishes them as a person is now visible to every CCG investigator. The amount of trust that the GOAT organization is doing right now to take off their mask and basically saying, we have nothing to hide to all of you CCG investigators, that right there is absolutely amazing. My favorite panel I have most likely ever seen in a Tokyo Ghoul chapter, Tokyo Ghoul in general, but then Toka basically replying back to their pride of the CCG saying, pride? What a load of bullshit. That right there is honestly right there. I love this page. I love this panel. That right there symbolizes so much for the series and just goes to show the amount of trust that comes in later on in this chapter with the humans and ghouls joining forces and finally working together. And I thought the awesomeness for this chapter could not go any higher. But it does. We see some slippers moving forward from the crowd, and we get the reveal that Juzo is about to proclaim to everyone that he is willing to align himself with the GOAT organization, with the ghouls, to go find Kaneki and to take down the dragon Kagane. But the reason he wants to do this is because he thinks that this is what Shinohara would want him to do. But it's what Marade says to him that I absolutely love, because he says to Juzo, you make your own decisions. You're an adult after all. Sure, you can look up to Shinohara, you can admire Shinohara, but you shouldn't let him drive your life. Make your own decisions. As long as you're okay with the decisions you are willing to make, that is all that matters. And then Juzo just basically contemplates on that, smiles and says, well then, let's all go together. And we even get the reveal that Hanbi is still alive, and we see the relief on everyone's face of the CCG investigators as they are willing to follow Juzo to the ends of the earth. And this just goes to show that Juzo is the real leader of the CCG, because the amount of respect and admiration that all of these investigators have for him, whatever decision he's willing to make, they are okay with it, which I'm wondering if that is kind of a contradiction to what Marade says to, just making decisions for yourself. But nonetheless, we have the alliance set in place. Everyone's giving high fives, like Hide and Akira high five, the relief on Toka's face, and we have the final lines of the chapter saying the CCG will accept your cooperation. Humans and ghouls finally working together. But the main question that I definitely got from this chapter for moving forward in the story, what is going to be the opposition for this newfound cooperation? The only one that comes to mind right now is Mitsuki and Aura. We know Mitsuki, being a little crazy and all. I am really wondering where her mindset will land with this newfound cooperation, and it's specifically Aura. I could not see Aura going willingly to go help Ken Kaneki, considering what he did to his aunt. And Mitsuki is definitely, not all there right now. I can't see her, standing alongside Toka on this quest to go save Kaneki and not end up stabbing her in the process. And you also got to factor in other characters well, like Sado and Kuro. So there are some characters that have still yet to join this newfound cooperation. So maybe those characters will be that obstacle in the way of this newfound, unity between humans and ghouls. But I was really satisfied with this chapter, guys. This was done fabulously. I most likely would have liked, maybe one other chapter just to lengthen the conflict a little bit. It did felt like it resolved a little bit too quickly, but I still loved the end result nonetheless. And that one panel of all the ghouls throwing up their masks is by far one of my favorite panels I have seen within Tokyo Ghoul. It is so symbolic for what has been throughout the story of Tokyo Ghoul. So I'm really interested to hear you guys' thoughts, opinions on this chapter. Did you guys like it? Did you guys dislike it? And where do you guys see this newfound cooperation moving forward? And are we really approaching the end of Tokyo Ghoul? Because this is like end game material right now. So I definitely want to hear your thoughts. Leave that in the comments down below. I love you guys so much. And until next week, until chapter 151 of Tokyo Ghoul Re, I'll talk with you guys later. See you later, guys.